Well, welcome back to the Atheist Bible Study Night, where we're going through the Gospel of Mark. In this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the story of Jesus, and we're going to see what Jesus' modus operandi was when he first kicked off his ministry. All right, in the previous two episodes, we've seen the calling of Jesus. We've seen him baptized by John the Baptist. We've seen him pick up a few of his disciples. He hasn't picked up them all yet. He's picked up a few. Okay, in this episode, we'll finally get to see him actually go out and do something, okay? But to make his modus operandi a bit more intelligible, because it's pretty mysterious what he goes around doing, let me talk a little bit about apocalyptic, okay? What is this apocalyptic mindset that's there? I actually talked a little bit about this in some previous sessions. But the apocalyptic mindset is an answer to the problem of evil. Okay, if you saw Veritas 48's 5 Questions for Atheists video, he mentions that the problem of evil really is one of the biggest challenges for his theism. And down through the ages, this really has been, it's like if God is so good, if God is so wise and so powerful, why is there so much bad things happening around here? Okay, the apocalyptic mindset was one of the first and is still probably one of the premier answers to the problem of evil. And here's how it works, okay? It's like, yes, okay, we see a lot of evil things going on now, okay? We see a lot of, the bad guys are in charge, and, but at a certain time in history, okay, something is going to happen. Somebody's going to come and wipe out all these bad guys and, completely, turn everything upside down. And, so that's basically what John the Baptist's message was. That's what he was saying. And Jesus Christ, when he starts out, that's what Jesus is saying. So, okay, he says the time's been fulfilled, okay? The time of the bad guys is over, okay? Something cool is about to happen, all right? So let's pick up the story of Jesus here. We left up off in Mark 1 and verse 20. So let's pick up the story at verse 21. And see how see how Jesus rolls here. Okay? Then they came to Capernaum, and on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and taught. Okay, let me just pause right here. Okay? The Gospel of Mark presents Jesus as thoroughly 100% Jewish, right? First of all, he goes in on the Sabbath, all right? He hasn't resurrected yet, so people don't worship on Sunday yet. They're still worshiping on Saturday. And he goes into the synagogue, and he worships there, and indeed he teaches in the synagogue. Actually, the most common honorific used for Jesus in the book of Mark is rabbi. Jesus is portrayed as being a rabbi in the book of Mark. All right? Let's pick it up at verse 22. The people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. Okay? So there's got to be an us and a them. Okay? So there's going to be several thems presented in the Gospel of Mark. Okay? One of the thems is the scribes. Okay? Why are the scribes the thems? Okay? First of all, who are the scribes? Okay? The scribes are the people who can write. Okay? Scribe means write, as in read and write. Not very many people back in Jesus' era could actually read and write. Apparently, Jesus was one of the few, right? But it wasn't because he had education like the scribes had, okay? Well, we're going to find out what Jesus' real profession was, okay? The word is carpenter, all right? But there's generally a tension here, okay, between Jesus and the existing power structure. And education was one of the ways then, as it is now, of enhancing, maintaining, and keeping a grip on the power structure. Jesus is very much opposed to this power structure. All right? All right, let's pick it up in verse 23. In their synagogue was a man with an unclean spirit. He cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Now, the interesting thing is, okay, keep your eye on who knows what Jesus is and what he's doing, and who does not know what Jesus is and what he's doing throughout the Gospel of Mark. That's another thing to keep your eye on, okay? So, who knows the truth about Jesus here? Okay, it's these unclean spirits, right? Okay, verse 25. Jesus rebuked him, the unclean spirit, and said, "Quiet, come out of him." The unclean spirit convulsed him, and with a loud cry came out of him. All right, now, a very interesting thing has happened here. All right, first of all, what's going on? What is with this unclean spirit thing? Okay, remember the apocalyptic mindset. The apocalyptic mindset is the world is in control of the devil, right? And it's in the hands of the bad guys right now. So one of the principal actions of Jesus is he goes around and he casts demons out of people. What is he doing? Okay, he's like unscrewing the power apparatus of the devil, right? The devil, how is the devil controlling all this stuff going on, right? Well, the devil is controlling it by having demons possessing people. And so that's one of the things that Jesus does. Okay, so he's already been to the desert, right? He's confronted the head man himself, Satan, and he's done it after not eating for 40 days. So he's proven he's got what it takes to unscrew this. So that's what he starts doing. He goes around and unscrews things. But all right, notice, what does he tell the demon? Okay, he tells the demon to be quiet. All right, that's not the only time he does it. Okay. Let's hitchhike on down to verse 23, or excuse me, verse 32. Mark 1, verse 32. When it was evening, after sunset, they brought him and all who were ill or possessed by demons. The whole town was gathered at the door. He cured many who were sick with various diseases, and he drove out many demons, not permitting them to speak, because they knew him. Okay, so the demons know who Jesus is. But Jesus does not let the demons speak. Why doesn't Jesus let the demons speak? Jesus doesn't let the demons speak because the demons know who Jesus is. Jesus does not want people to know who he is. All right, now remember, okay, we're reading the Gospel of Mark here as if it's the only gospel that we have. All right, this is what's known as the Marcan Secret. Mark is unique among the Gospels. No other gospel has this motif in it. This is called the Marcan Secret. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus does not want it generally known who he is, what he's doing, what his words mean, or anything like this. So keep your eye on, okay, who knows what Jesus is all about, who does not know what Jesus is all about, who's the insiders, who's the outsiders, who's in the know, who's not in the know, and keep your eye on exactly how this knowledge gets passed around, right? So, Jesus is very much here. It's really a very striking characteristic of the Gospel of Mark. Scholars call it the Marcan Secret. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, Jesus has basically been doing two different things so far, right? One where he is teaching everybody and disseminating information, and one where he is doing miracles, miraculous things, but he doesn't want anybody to know about them. Okay. So, in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus is portrayed as somebody who has miraculous powers. But these miracles, oddly enough, the purpose of these miracles is not to convince people that Jesus is the Messiah. It is not to convince people that Jesus is God. Fascinating, eh? What is the purpose of these miracles? Is to start unscrewing the power apparatus that the devil has over the world. Just like one by one, he's loosening the bolts of Satan's, kingdom here, and he's instituting the kingdom of God instead. And these aren't really a sign. The miracles aren't a sign. They're not meant to convince anybody. They're just meant to help people. But Jesus does do a lot of other work in order to convince people. He's called a rabbi. He goes around from synagogue to synagogue, teaching and telling the people cool stuffs, which we'll read about later. All right, well, that's about all the time we have for. This pretty much wraps up chapter 1 of Gospel of Mark. So we'll pick up later on in the Gospel of 2 in the next episode.